Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's Dun& Bradstreet India webinar. The topic of today's webinar is COVID-19, change in the go-to-market strategy. I would like to take this opportunity to introduce our esteemed speaker for the webinar. We start our webinar with Mr. Prasenjit Roy, Senior Executive Vice President and Chief Marketing Officer, NTT NetMagic. Before we begin the session, there are a few things that we would like to tell you. Today's agenda, we will have the presentation first from our speakers, followed by a panel discussion, and then it will be followed by Q&A. All the participants will have no access to talk during the entire length of the webinar to avoid any disruption during the webinar. At the end of the presentation, as we mentioned, we will have a Q&A session. You can ask your question using the Q&A tab on your screen. So I request you all to kindly note down any questions that you may have and ask the same during the Q&A sessions. Please note that you have to write your full name and organization before you are asking the questions. We also have a small interactive survey in between the sessions. Participating in the survey will give you a chance to win a complimentary health scan on your customer pipeline. Now I invite Mr. Prasenjit Roy to start his presentation. Prasenjit Roy, Senior Executive Vice President and Chief Marketing Officer, NTT NetMagic. Prasenjit has more than 2.5 decades of experience on the business side, spanning across several multinationals in India and abroad. An accomplished and dynamic strategic marketing and strategy specialist, he's a council member and a mentor to NASSCOM 10,000 startups and council member of CII. He has advanced degree in engineering and business management and also did a postgraduate certificate course in modern information system from IIT Mumbai. Let's welcome Prasenjit. Over to you, Prasenjit.
Thanks, Naina. Thanks for inviting me. Business has been really tough times in this uncertainties. With an unprecedented black swan event hitting the economy, companies have already embraced the mantra to adapt to newer and innovative methods of approaching customers and stakeholders. Amidst this volatile situation, a shifting paradigm of business is at the center stage of the current sales and marketing approach, cutting across enterprise, cutting across the different verticals that we are all in. Before we delve into GTM, let us first understand the overall business impact. There are three stages that all businesses would necessarily go through. In my belief, most of the companies have graduated from the first stage and are now in the second stage of adapting. So be it reducing the non-essential cost, be it automating the business process flows, analyzing the disruption to the operation and supply chain, or bringing in innovation in the products and service lines to address the changing demand. I think majority of the companies are in the adapting phase right now. The next phase would be the growing phase, where we need to assess and reallocate our capital resources for moving forward. We will have to also evaluate some inaugurating opportunities to expand our service lines with maybe a M&A mode. And lastly, we have to look at the slew of digital driven opportunities in the medium and long term that will be the fuel for growth. Can we go to the next slide, Nana, please? Yeah, thank you. Nothing could be more apt in this current times for companies to invest in nurturing, strengthening relationships. What you sow today will reap back in many fold in the future. Always remember, businesses are run by people in a crisis. They remember how they were treated or served. Next slide, please. It's all about getting to the customer. B2B or B2C models are emerging, and they are merging also. The key now is likely to provide brand experience consistently across touch points. One that is humane, uniform, and engaging. So what we did from our end was to ensure that we had provided continuity of services for all our clients, helping the clients to respond to this pandemic, okay, whatever help it's possible, so that minimize the impact of the disruptions, providing the secure remote working, and also helping them with remote digital client experiences. And lastly, which is very vital, what are we doing in sharing the best practices, leveraging our extensive networks working across 100 countries in the world? How are we providing the best practices in terms of connectivity, security, flexible working, and wider business continuity? So share whatever you have at your disposal with the community at large. Next slide, Nana. Messaging in this hour has to be prioritized and have a context. There's a need to elevate the narrative and also use positive examples to make peers learn from those. Next slide, please. We've been driving marketing programs as theme-based. Pick up relevant and contextual themes that resonates both internally and externally. I'll just pick up some of those as examples. So for enterprises, what we did is we picked up a theme that is pertaining to available, managed, secure IT infrastructure, touching upon elements of security in the remote working environment, availability of the DC or the hybrid cloud, and also looking at automated DR or traditional BCP in a war room versus a remote one. We picked up another theme, let's say like workplace transformation, which is the infusion of VDI into our main line of business or business applications on cloud. Similarly, the other could be on enterprise collaboration, which all companies are now trying to grapple with. So picking up relevant themes and running your entire machinery behind it is what could set you apart from a traditional way of narrative that we were doing in the pre-COVID days. Next slide, please. Humanizing the brand. One could look at several areas. One is put purpose behind everything your brand does, a sense of duty. Showcase your staff and highlight them. Always personalize even during automation. And by the help of agile marketing and sophisticated marketing tools, put brands in the middle of the conversations, be it in the social media or anywhere else. Next slide, please. Even though we are marketers, it's not the time to hard sell or push for products. This is a time for showing support to customers, to partners, to employees. So we came out with a slew of offerings. Okay, so be it the cloud services where we are doling out freebies to them for our mid-market, etc., helping them to move from infrastructure, a bare metal to a cloud, or even next slide, please, or even for the entire startup ecosystem. Okay, we came out with an entire package, be it in terms of cloud, security, business continuity, management, cost optimization. So we want them, we have heard in the media how many are grappling, how many have been very badly hit by this pandemic. Okay, we want them to sustain, we want them to grow and thrive. So we came out packages which were absolutely complementary for them, to be used for several months, so that they can at least try to fear that shock that has hit them and flourish. Next slide, please. So entity at a global level has also come out something like we found out at a global level that a lot of the hospitals and a lot of security incidents were happening. So we came out at our incident response services for all those hospitals across the globe, and where we said that you focus on your key service of treating the patients. We will take care of your entire IT infra at the back end. Next slide, please. So if you look at this, this was primarily intended to customers and to prospects and suspects, mainly to the employees, where we carried out a package for working from home. So be it the partners that we work with, Microsoft or the Google in terms of collaboration tools, we worked with Cloud SDK and said that we will monitor and risk your confidential data. We also help companies that do not have a VPN. How do you help them to connect from their home environment? We worked with a partner called Akamai. So we have rolled out all this to ensure that the business have at least the basic tools to continue with their operations. Next slide, please. So as I said before, if you're harmonizing a brand, your employees always need to be there right up front. So we have gone out of the way to take care of the health and safety of each employees. Communication to the employees through our internal microsite and regular interaction through our town halls, WhatsApp groups, email updates, and providing them the medium like Udemy and other courses for them to upgrade their skill sets. So we have also realized across entity globally that family is now part of the team. So we run an entire campaign that we are okay with, family coming in terms of business discussions because you're working in a different environment. We are absolutely open to that fact. So to all my marketeers, my point is do not at all miss out on focusing on the morale, health, and wellness of your team members. Across our data centers, we had people working from these bases across 10 of the data centers. We had called them our heroes. Every week we had carried social posts on our corporate handle. We recognized and applauded them in our town halls, presented them with certificates besides the special hardship allowances. So make the people who are setting your engine working, make them as heroes, applaud them, recognize them. That is very vital in today's world. Next slide, please. Digital transformation is now a must-have from a nice-to-have. To reach out to the most viable segments, marketing strategies would need to become digital-led, would need to be data-driven, and reimagined for a no-touch experience. Always remember, people buy experiences. They do not buy products or services. Customers expect an experience that is personalized, timely, and convenient. Next slide, please. The lines between B2B and B2C appear to have blurred, and there is no B2B or B2C anymore. There is B2E, business to everyone. The key is to lend your ears and hear their beats, what they have to say, their pains and their struggles. So use social media, use and have a lot of sensitive engagement on social media. Engage in conversations. It's very vital that you hear what they're going to go through. That will give you inputs and trigger for reorganizing your AI capability deck. We also did a lot of peer group sessions where we organized on a virtual medium interactions with the CIOs, the CISOs, the head of infra, and the business teams of the customers. We picked them up across the different verticals, across the different nuggets. Those were input sessions for us, based on which we went to a drawing board and redesigned our product offerings, found out which are the white spaces that we need to plug in and how we can come back and serve the community. So before you go back and do how can I have a superior digital customer experience, you need to first get the experiences, you need to first get the inputs, you need to first hear them out. This is very, very vital. Next slide, please. I don't need to explain how customer experience and how important and relevant is. If I look at what Gartner has predicted, they're saying in the coming years, 81% of businesses will primarily compete on the basis of enhanced CX. So there are 6 pillars or nuggets on which digital customer experience is hinged on. One is personalization. Second is integrity. Third is expectations. Fourth is the resolution. Fifth is empathy. And the sixth is time and effort. Going to the paucity of time, I just picked up one particular nugget, and just time and effort, which I'm showing in this slide. How do we minimize customers' efforts and make his experience frictionless for the different processes that he goes through? A customer need not talk to any of our executives on a virtual medium. He can do it 24/7 on the weekends also. He has a portal by which he can go and manage his contacts. He can monitor his services. He can access his cloud portal. He can look at his billing. He can review the different assets he has. He can do a device held setup demo, and he can monitor all the services, everything at his fingertips, any 24/7. How are we enhancing his entire experience and giving him the full flexibility? That is very critical out of this. This is one of the nuggets out of the 6 I talked about. How a company is trying to create the repackage their entire offerings across the 6 nuggets for an enhanced digital experience. And this is a time where this is going to be a prevalent and going into several quarters. So companies need to look at this in totality now. We go to the next slide, please. Naina, we'll go to the next slide.
Sorry, just give me 1 second. I think
Sure.
there's technical difficulties.
Yeah. So let's look at some of the best practices. I picked up some across the different industries and also from some of the big consultancy force and consulting organizations. Nana, the next slide, please. What should be a marketing doing at this pandemic times? Okay, very simple. 4 things I talked about earlier. Cultivate the customer relationship. Soften your call to action. Be there, hear them out, offer what you have to give them, serve them. Don't at all push for your CTA. Don't chase ambulances. This is not the time for doing it. It's not the time for aggressive sales. Third, as a marketing, we are going through tough times. Marketing budgets have been slashed, but doesn't mean that you switch off marketing. You have to have your presence. So continue with the PPC campaigns, continue with the presence, because when we go back to a sort of near normal times, and if you were not present in those times, you will lose out big time. Businesses would suffer. And lastly, stay relevant and provide value. How can you provide value to customers? How have you changed your business models? How have you moved to the virtual medium? Okay, so these are some of the things that marketing needs to do during a pandemic times. Next slide, please, Nana. I have touched that, but I think this is a very super important slide in terms of digital customer experience. And what are the 6 things one needs to do? One is the reset. How have customers' expectations changed during these times? You need to reorganize a strategy based on that. You need to slow down and listen to them, as I explained that. Hear them out, hear to their beats, what they want trying to convey to you. Prioritize your authenticity. Right now is the time for transparency, genuine care, and credibility, which far outweighs any clever marketing gimmicks. Broaden your definition of core. As I said before, businesses are run by people and they are observing you, they're noticing you, they're paying attention to what you're doing in these times. There are customers who have been with you for years and decades. How are you rewarding them? How are you showing that you care for them? What are you going to do for them? And as you do this entire slew of activities that you carry out today, be prepared for a return that comes back to you in the future. So they are going to obviously pay you back. As you sow, so shall you reap. The next slide, Nana. This is a very famous slide I picked up from McKinsey, and I thought it's a very simple slide. And at times we tend to forget simplicity. 4 key things that we need to focus on. First one, care and concern. Reach out for support, not for aggressive sales or marketing. Second one, meet the customers where they are. They have been impacted badly. Their business models have been impacted. So innovate your digital models to help customers weather the crisis. Third, reimagine the post-COVID scenario. How will you help migrate customers to digital channels to save money and boost their satisfaction? And lastly, build an agile capabilities for fluid times. Tap into social medias for quick customer readings. Pay attention to some cases where you have failed, how you can rectify that, and have your capabilities built up for the future. So this is a very good slide from McKinsey, which says the simple ways that you need to cater to the community right now. Next slide, Nana, please. So a few takeaways. Listen to the changing needs of the clients. Automate your business process if you've not done so, which is very, very vital. Along with the customers and the community, innovate your offerings and services. Focus on client experiences. Your eyesight should not move away from this. And all this calamity and pandemics has also opened up a few opportunities. Prepare to leverage on those. And lastly, one most important element that we inadvertently ignored in these crucial times, it is the aspect of communication. Communication with customers, business partners, Communicate hygiene and environmental sustainability, whatever form, shape, or size. Communicate with employees. Communicate with the entire ecosystem, be it with agencies or vendors, with the industry bodies. Don't ever miss out on your communication, which is the bedrock of a relationship going forward. Thank you. Thanks, Anna.
Thank you, Prasenjit. Thanks a lot for your presentation. Our next speaker is Mr. Hitesh Shetty, Head Analytics Advisory, Dun & Bradstreet, India. Hitesh has been assisting Indian and multinational clients with their growth and expansion plan for over 17 years. Over his consulting careers, he has executed over 100 plus consulting projects in a wide range of sectors in India, Middle East, and Africa. Presently, he is associated with Dun & Bradstreet India as Head Operation Risk Management Solution and is managing the project appraisal system team. In addition to the project appraisal services, Hitesh is also overseeing strategic initiative and business advisory project across clients and sectors. His area of expertise include business strategy and planning, marketing strategy, financial feasibility, risk management, cost management, and process management. Over to Hitesh.
Thank you, Naina. Good afternoon to everyone who's present. Let me start by starting with the usual, looking at where we are today in terms of the world. And can you see my presentation, Naina? Is it visible?
No, Hitesh. Not being able to see if you share it.
Is it visible now?
Yes.
Yeah, so largely what I'm doing right now is something which even Prasenjit spoke about, and I think the current scenario is known to everyone. When we did in the Q2 of 2020, when we did the business optimism, we realized at a record low. I think there are two parts. The optimism was low, but the optimism with reference to recovery was higher for countries like India and China, because there was a strong confidence in the resilience of our economy, even though in the recent past, even that has suffered slightly. What we've also been doing is globally tracking, three elements. Comes to businesses, their subsidiaries, their locations, and how are they getting impacted. The second thing is at the industry level, trying to understand when it comes to government restrictions, what the government is planning, how are they opening up, and the impact on businesses because of that. And third, I think the most important part, which is on the credit health today when it comes to viability businesses, what are they facing? And when you look at all of this, and you actually aggregate it across countries. Let's take US as an example. Primarily, I think the East Coast is the severe impacted region, and around 38 to 40% of US businesses are located in those impacted area. Primarily, if you look at India, and businesses are located in these states, and these states are actually severely impacted. Currently also contributing to the maximum number of cases at the country level. Perspective, I think all sectors largely have been impacted. However, like Prasenjit was saying, sectors which have product categories, which have remote solutions, providing IT aspects, which is enabling business models to get digital. I think those are the only elements or sectors which have been less impacted, I would say. And primarily, if you look at from a severity of impact, sectors like tourism, logistics, look at hospitality. These are all sectors which are going through a huge churn. And the problem is that even if we look at from a forward view, there is still large uncertainty, on what will happen, because COVID is not going anywhere. One of the key to say is COVID is here. It will be there in the short to medium term. And what we make of this environment and how we actually configure our business model is up to us. And we should be focused on driving that. So let's just go ahead and see see, so this is just an illustration of how bankruptcies are rising. I think in US in May there was 722 companies which had filed for bankruptcy. JC Penney was one of them. Hertz Global, which filed bankruptcy in the last week of May, is the other one. So these are few names which we are familiar with, which we see every day. And largely the hypothesis is that if there was a segment or a sector which was already struggling, the possibility of those businesses actually surviving this pandemic is the least. So if you look at retail, for example, and he was owning stores. So if you look at our data, for the last 12 months, anyway, JC Penney was and the pandemic actually provided the last nail on the coffin. Hertz, for example, is a high-touch consumer business. I don't have customers anymore. Nobody's actually leasing cars. And that's the issue largely. So in this environment, if I go further and I look at, say, companies, India, I look at the services segment and I look at what is happening. And this is something which we've done. These are around 6,000 odd customers which we've analyzed. These are customers which are being served by the Indian IT companies. So basically, when it comes to the services part of our GDP, this is very relevant and pertinent. And we looked at that portfolio and we tried to understand that what kind of stress are these portfolios going through. And if you look at the number, roughly 39% of customers of these 6,000 customers, around 40%, are customers which are very highly impacted because of COVID-19. And when I'm saying very highly impacted, what I mean is that when it comes to cash flow, when it comes to commercial activities, this has slowed down for these companies at an unprecedented level. So largely, the other aspect which is very important, and this is very true for all sectors which are interconnected, which have global supply chains. So what I call the network is that, say, today, you may be interacting, say, for example, DNB may be interacting and providing material to JC Penney. However, JC Penney has its own ecosystem. It has its own customers, it has its other suppliers, and that is what the network for JC Penney is. And that network also is impacting JC Penney. So when you look at this portfolio, this is a portfolio of services companies and it's a global portfolio, you would realize that a sizable portion, as high as 45% of these companies have a very, very high network impact on them, which means that even if standalone, these businesses would have the necessary cash to survive, the impact, which is the derived impact they're facing from the network, is actually debilitating for them in the short to medium term. So I think largely, if I may summarize, the condition is worsening worldwide. Today, some economies have opened up, economies like US, Germany, so even in India, we've now started looking at unlocking. It is even more important now to understand which customers are we dealing with, what are these customers going through, and therefore, how can I serve them, or whether at all I should serve them. I think this is the key message which I want to highlight in this slide. Let's move ahead, and let's what the consumers are thinking, what businesses are thinking, and how the world at large is changing. I think one of the key aspects which was touched earlier also was digitization. Today, simple things like, I am actually reaching out to sell, and I am actually using more digital mediums to reach out than earlier. Because earlier, if you look at India, I had a very, very traditional sales model. I reach out to companies, I interact face to face, I do demos, I take them through presentations, I a proposal and closure. But now what has happened is the in-person field sale meetings has dropped. And it is not only dropped because of the lockdown, but noticeably the perception is that for continuity's sake, for the short to medium term, till such time there is a scenario post COVID, we will have to rely largely on digitization. How does it impact the choice? what we're noticing is, and if you look at the consumer side of the business, the thing is, the other element which comes in basis digitization is that we are looking at reskilling. Suddenly when I look at my workforce and I look at what skills I required in my traditional sales and to digital sales interactions, very different. Which also means there are things that get created and are getting created worldwide. The third, which we see,
Hitesh, we're losing you in between.
is currently it's all.
Hitesh, we're losing you in between, so we can't hear you when you started talking about this slide.
Yeah, so just a minute. Yeah, so is it clearer now, Nayan?
It is, but we can't see your slides.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear
Yeah,
you.
yeah,
But
no, I stopped it. Yeah, no, I'll get it back. Yeah, so is it better now?
We're not being able to see your slides, but we can hear you. Yes, I think now the slides are okay.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is that when you look at the entire.
Sorry, we lost
So
you again.
primarily, yeah. So if you look at it, digitization is what I spoke about. I am now looking at increased localization, reskilling. The other thing which we are looking at from a key driver perspective is remote working. I think remote working is here to stay. What that means is that increasingly we will have business models which are largely digital and they are driven digitally. Uh, the other element which we are seeing, I think, which will have a huge difference is the increased government support which is happening to the private sector. This government support is essentially, enabling private businesses to rethink on what their long-term strategy would be. And the last point, which I want to make here is that even though today we may not have clarity on what the way ahead is, we may not have clarity on the information on how the economy will recover. We don't need the entire data and information to be available because today the crisis we are going through requires us to actually have an iterative operating model, which means that we form hypothesis, we act on it, we prototype, and we actually implement it and take real feedback. So this is the customer feedback part which even Prasanjit was referring. And think largely when you look at it, and you ask me what the go-to market for tomorrow would be, it would be focused on the principles of design thinking, where I'm actually prototyping, testing in the market, changing. It will be increasingly digital. It will be focused on the local economy, and remote working is here to stay, and there'll be new skill based of employees which will be required, so therefore, in this context, what are the three pillars? I think when you look at the GTM model, fit was always there. I was always looking at companies, where are they located, what industry they belong to, what size they have, and basis which I was driving consumption. I think the intent part very clearly comes in. This is something which was required and was being captured globally. But I think, and in India also, there were many IT companies which were looking at buyer intent in their decision making. However, I think this has become very important and critical for all companies to look at. What that means, it means visitor intelligence. It means, I am capturing as much information through, and I will talk about what elements come within digital activity. I'm looking at prospect engagement happening, through this. The most important part, I think, which has happened, because globally fit and intent was still there. I think risk has come in. This is a very, very critical aspect today, and we are seeing this increasingly. Today, if I'm entering into a contract with a company, I need to ensure that that company has the ability to pay me. And I need to assess what is it that the likely impact of COVID has been on them. And it is not now, which is today, but it is on an ongoing basis. So basically, on your GTM strategy, the most important inclusion is risk, because that is what will ensure that you receive and recover your money and ensure that your business model is viable and profitable. I think this is where the connection between the CRO, which is the risk officers, and the chief marketing officers, I think great cohesion happening there. Data challenges are still there, and the traditional model was also there, in the digital even more. So what are we saying? When we're looking at data, we're looking at contacts, which is the traditional form. We are looking at digital IDs now. We're looking at cookies, IPs, mobile IDs. We are looking at analytics. We're looking at propensity fit models, which is basically enabling you to prioritize your customer segment. Intent data, which I spoke about. I think, this is something which is, again, connected with the cookies, IPs, and mobile IDs, along with your purchase history and propensity model, and then the firmographics. I think largely, we need to focus on data, because the data-driven decision making is here to stay. And largely, what form of data we capture, and how we use it would be very, very critical. So, I know that we are a clock on this. So let me quickly, put this, how it will fit in perspective. So this is what our current model is, right? I may be a company who's digital. That means that I may have a cloud, I may be using Oracle, I may be having Google, and I may having, even Azure platforms, and if I was not doing it 3 months back, I may have already started doing it, and the questions which traditionally I've been asking always is, who's buying, and primarily when I'm looking at intent, when I'm looking at transaction data, what kind of data I should capture, and traditionally what we've been doing is we've been capturing all of this information through surveys. We've been speaking with our customers, we've been speaking with our prospects, trying to understand them, manually segmenting them, making sense of all of this data, and then saying, okay, this is what I understand, this is what I believe, is something which I need to act on, and then I'm activating this information through multiple channels and trying to do the best to target my audience. I think the most efficient way to do this is having this layer automated, and why I'm talking of this now is we have actually reached a spot where the transition we would have made over 2 years has happened now, immediately and now. We are integrating and looking at tools and digitizing our business models, and what I'm telling you is that if I need, it's important that how I capture that data, how I use that data, and what end objective I want to drive has to also be thought through, and which is very important. Now, you may not be using analytics and AI to do that, but you may be actually using a simple interface to, actually do a descriptive scorecarding and driving your campaigns, but then the path ahead is that we need to think in this cohesive manner, and why am I saying this? Let me put this in perspective. Today we are at a scenario where economy is opening up. Today we have, I think, 3 to 4 companies who have vaccines at, say, phase 2 of trials. If you look at the previous phase 2 to phase 3 transition was Ebola virus, which was around 21 months. Even if, the vaccines succeed, we are looking at a minimum of 12 months before a vaccine is available. Add to that a manufacturing plant. So for any of these vaccines which are successfully tested, if you're putting up a manufacturing facility, in normal courses, it's 5 years. So what that means is, for a vaccine which is still not finalized, we are already building up manufacturing facilities. So my point is that if we are thinking that this is short term, this change will go away, COVID will go away, it will not happen. We need to adapt to the new environment. We need to understand how remote working can help us. We need to collaborate with IT companies to actually digitize the data I'm capturing and act upon it, and that's the key thing. I think, in the end, if there are, if you ask me, three things which we need to focus on, I think, and this is true in any environment, I need to have goodwill with my customers, uh, you know, and my digital strategy has to focus on building that goodwill, which will result in industry intimacy. And a large part of this, whether it be your internal employees, your customers and prospects, is what giving forward is all about. Then once you have this goodwill created, your digital strategy is integrated, aligned, you have the right data, then you move on to my customer analytics, paid digital campaigns, which is where you are actually trying to encash on that goodwill and create opportunities for you. And lastly, but not the least, is how will I enable my employees? You will enable your employees by having the right tools. This is not the traditional sales model. This is digitally driven, and therefore the choice of the tools which you have to actually enable your current team will go a long way to actually helping you with your GTM plan. So in summary, uh, you know, the problem is there. It is there to stay. We are looking and observing this impact across customer portfolios. There is a high level of network impact which is happening. Business failures is a reality. We need to be cautious. We need to start capturing data, not just credit risk data, but digital data. We need to choose the right set of tools to integrate and align with our go-to-market strategy. And most importantly, reskill. I think when we talk about training of employees, the employees should know the tools and they need to be reskilled to operate in the right environment. A very simple example today, when you look at online classes or any format in which we are running any correspondence, the way we do it in a physical classroom to the way we do it digitally is very different. The attention span is very different. The time, the snippets which you put across is very different. Exactly the same difference is there today, and that is something which we need to adapt for having an effective revival plan, survival plan post this pandemic. And I think largely these are the key points which I wanted to make. So thank you very much. I apologize for the up and down in the network quality, but I hope largely the message was understood. Yeah, thank you. Over to you, Naina.
Thank you so much, Hitesh. Thanks a lot. Hitesh was talking about remote working, and we have someone now, our next speaker, who is whose organization works in remote working quite a bit. So I will just share his presentation first, and then yes, our next speaker is Mr. Rajat Sahu, Vice President Marketing and Alliance in InstaSafe Technologies Limited, Inc. Sorry. Rajat Sahu is an accomplished global marketing and communication professional with over 2 decades of experience in marketing strategy, brand building, digital marketing, and data analytics. He has a strong domain expertise in IT, media, and publishing industries. He's currently working at InstaSafe Technologies Inc. as Vice President Marketing and Alliance. As the Vice President Marketing and Alliance, he leads the company's strategic marketing initiative and PR across all platforms, and is also responsible for customer success initiative for increasing the cross and upsell revenue for the organization. Welcome, Rajat.
Hi, thank you, Naina. Hope I'm audible.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
Okay, excellent. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. And as we go by, where Prasenjit has left and Hitesh has left, if we look into the changing landscape, COVID-19, the moment it happened, A lot of people saw it as a challenge. Some people saw it as an opportunity. Uh, in that dynamics, how sales and marketing has changed and how we leverage it, I'll just take you through on as we go by. Uh, if you look into the landscape, how it accelerates the change is a lot of companies innovated and adopted a lot of many ways. A lot of garment company moved into making PP kits, masks, and other things. So business was moving dynamically, and our sales and marketing professional, if we are not aware or not keeping our eyes and ears open to this kind of innovation and adoption, then obviously we lose out. That is where sometimes this kind of challenges brings a lot of opportunity in terms of what you can get out of your market and how you can reach out to your customer and get maximum out of it. Companies who seek solutions to problems, like a lot of organizations, you would be aware about Mahindra moving into developing a ventilator. That kind of innovation also brings out a lot of opportunity, business opportunity for them to explore new markets. Our sales and marketing professionals, how aware we are into that kind of scenarios and how we are addressing that is where we can bring out a latent opportunity of new businesses from the existing customers or new customers. 5 key elements of that comes into, are you changing the slides? I'm not able to see the slides. Hello.
Can you see the slides, Rajat? Rajat, can you see the slides?
Yeah. Next, please. Yeah, I can see it. Yeah, next, please. Yeah, one more next, please. Yeah. The next slide, please. One more, please. Yeah. So as I was speaking to you, disruption always brings in a good opportunity for a salesperson who is looking into leveraging the various kind of tools, opportunities by leveraging their existing customer as well as new ones. One slide back, Naina, please. One more slide back. So as we were speaking about how to leverage your customers during this kind of a scenario, what Prasad is already touched base, don't push, build your customer relationship, how you can leverage out of that. For that, you need to keep 5 key elements on the customer success as the key thing. One is be proactive and segment your customers. Some of the customers may not be doing well and some of the customers may be doing exceptionally well. How you can leverage by upsell, cross-sell is what you need to target it. You do that through by being proactive, then segmenting your customers into various industries, various geographies, and various kind of deliverable or products or services classifications. Similarly, how you can improve your engagement with them, doing the value proposition selling to the customers, and managing the customer and keeping the track of customer support. Hello, Naina, can you hear me?
I can, Rajat.
Yeah, can you go to slide 5, please?
Which slide you were asking me? Sorry, Rajat, I'm not being able to understand.
Slide number 5. Slide number 5.
I'm in slide number 5.
Okay. So when we speak about be proactive and segmentation, you need to segment your industries, geographies, personas, individuals. And the primary thing during this time of crisis, you need to reach out to your customer and understand what are the business demands and what are the challenges they are facing, and how your product or services can address that. Find their key needs and customize your product and solution to that specific requirement. what I mean by that is previously what marketing covered by Prasenjit is that customizing your communications, your deliverables basis on these aspects. And basis that you need to value your customer health scores, how they're satisfied with your product, support or services or not. Next slide, please.
I'm on the next slide, which is called Engage More. Is that the slide you're talking about?
Yeah. Yeah, probably my system is running slow. Right. Once you proactively reach out, you need to engage to your customers, checking how they're using your product or services, what are the challenges they're facing or not, what are the pain points. Basis that you need to align all your deliverables, customized specific to that industry, specific to that segment, because every industry, every segment will have a different kind of a challenge. So you need to build a lot of personalization, what already marketing, which has been covered as cultivating customer relationships and continuing your campaigns, right? You can also use your existing customers through advocacy programs, through testimonials, webinars, inviting them to speak on behalf of you, and reach out to the same segment of industry to build your credibility. Next slide, please. So, basis the engagement, you can build value proposition for each customer segment in separate industries, align your product deliverables and measurability according to that, which will build in terms of helping you cross-sell and upsell your products and services more. And you need to be assuring and building confidence every time with the customer, because when you are addressing during this crisis time, that builds much more stronger relationship and builds a longer life cycle for your product and customer with those segments. Yeah. Customer management becomes next slide, Sandy. Customer management becomes critical out here. Yeah, correct. So as marketing covers, during the customer success kind of activity, you need to have a across organization-wise engagement, because across industries, your large enterprise customers will have multiple stakeholders, as well as you will have internally multiple stakeholders servicing that particular customer, whether it is operations, sales, marketing, finance, all of them. So you need to build a cohesive environment for both sides to build up a strong customer management, whereas you will be building people, process, and a lot of things, automating to deliver the services and products satisfactorily. Next slide, please. Customer support becomes a key aspect of every product or services. A lot of time we ignore that, or we pass it on as a very low-end work, but that is where a lot of dissatisfaction builds up. Because end of the day, both the organization, when you're working, a lot of users who are probably not directly connected with you would be using your product and services. They are the internal customer to the organization who would be giving a lot of feedback. So that is where if you are proactively reaching out and keeping check of what kind of a feedback you are receiving from the ground up users, that will help you to define and plan how to mitigate that. And by reaching out proactively, if you have got those reports handy with you and you reach out proactively to the customer, it builds a lot of credibility and minimizes the risk of losing a customer. Next. With all those kind of things, what we spoke about, end of the day, because of the COVID, the face-to-face things have been reduced, whereas the digital thinking gets accelerated. What all we spoke on those bench of parameters, 5 key elements of success, you need to integrate in each of your communication, whether you are the first line of communication in emails, webinars, it has to be personalized to that industry, that segment, that persona type. Similarly, connecting through surveys, demos for each segment so that you take out the key points. Engage with your customer to increase the feedback and utilization report. That way you can help build value proposition to sell more. Okay. understanding the customer's business needs becomes key because as they keep on changing their business, iterate to the new demands, you can align your businesses and build case studies that will help you align your numbers, both customer satisfaction numbers as well as revenue goals achieved easily. Okay. And to manage operations and automate functions, that is one of the key aspects, because when you are working with large customers and large number of people whom you need to manage, both internal organization as well as the customer organization side, you need to build automated processes which have been handily available like Salesforce, Zoho, or any other CRM tools, which can back up you for running these activities seamlessly and yield you better results. That's a key takeaway. So when you're leveraging the digital communication, you need to understand with the changing times, everybody is receiving dime a dozen invites, emails every day. If it is not addressing the key points of the customer pain points, they need to lose the patience, and there will be a lot of dissatisfaction. So you need to be very, very mindful working with your sales, marketing teams, operation teams, and support teams to build very, very specific cases, emails, webinar communications, stories, case studies, which would be interesting to the customer as well as it will be addressing their pain points to build your confidence towards your build and product and services. Yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rajat. Before we start with our next session,
Thanks,
which is the Q&A and the panel discussion, we have a short poll that we would like to share with you in case this participating in this poll helps you, also gives you a chance to complimentary win health scan for all your customers, for your customers pipeline. So is it visible?
Yeah, Naina.
Yeah,
yes.
visible.
Yes. So we'll take like a 2 to 3 minutes for people to answer the, take part in the poll, and then we will start our panel discussion. The direct link to the poll is also in your Q&A section. So you can directly click on that link and go to the poll directly. You don't have to type anything if you want to do that. We've already published the details there in the Q&A section. The poll has started. Just give us 2 minutes more and we will start with the Q&A section. That brings us to our next round of this webinar, which is a panel discussion. Hitesh, my first question would be to you. So you are doing a lot of, several health scan for pipeline as well as for supply chain in India. So do you see a pattern with some insights for our audience? Do you see a pattern that is, coming up in your health scan that, in terms of the sector, in terms of the geography? So what is the, what is your, what is the pattern and the insights that you can share it with our audience?
Sure. So I would say that one common theme which is emerging is that consistently all pipelines as well as all customer portfolios are showing very strong and visible signs of distress. The range has been in between 20 to 40%. So I would say 40% is for companies which have a very diversified supply chain, and what is happening there is that the network impact on their customers is very strong, and the 20% are companies where actually the network impact is not that dominant. The second thing which we are seeing is that obviously when you look at credit health and companies which were already struggling from a credit health perspective, they've gone worse. But there is a sizable mix of companies which were doing reasonably well, and because they've not acted on critical aspects at the right time, they've exponentially gotten worse. So I think the difference which is emerging is between companies which have been proactive in managing their business affairs to companies which have actually sat down and said, okay, fine, let us wait. It will improve in 2 to 3 months. So I think these are the two critical things. The third is that from a sector perspective, there is no one sector which I would say is negative. When we look at the pipeline scan, it could be retail, but the same retail sector will have red spots as well as green spots. So there are companies within sectors which are doing well. So the philosophy of saying, no, I will not deal with retail companies, or I will not deal with companies which are basically on the consumer side, that is not something which is the right step to take. I would say that these are the three things largely.
Sure. My next question would be for Prasenjit. So as as we all know that the whole world has changed, and as Hitesh is saying that there's no pattern, so anybody could be affected and could be from any sector. So we haven't seen this coming. So you work with variety of sectors and variety of clients. What has been your key learnings how is your client, are responding to this crisis, and how as a marketeer you are trying to help them with this crisis?
Hi, Nana. Sorry, I was in the mute. Um, yeah. So obviously, no one has seen this coming, Nana. I agree with you. And so before I start, I'll just would like to talk about a few changing dynamics and very interesting ones. Okay, and it gives a perspective of things have changed in the pre-COVID to the current one. And I'll just pick up a few of those nuggets. Like earlier, we used to talk about customer first. Okay, now that has changed to continuity first. Okay, earlier we were talking about real-time insights. Now we are talking about near-time insights, more of predictability. Earlier we were talking about business visibility. Now we are more concerned and focused on market visibility. Okay, um, financial stability now has been replaced by financial resilience. And when we're talking about digital transformation earlier, now this is changed to future-proof transformation. Okay, so see the entire paradigm, how things have changed, in a matter of few months, and how business is looking at it from a different lens altogether. From our side, yes, we have look. So there are three phases. The response phase has already been through. We are more in the recovery phase, and then we're leading to a thrive phase. So in the recovery or recover phase, what we're looking at, as I said before, supporting and helping clients across different verticals and segments. Okay, and we see it more in the mid market, which is a commercial, and in the SME segment. uh, we are driving innovation, okay, to develop solutions which are pertinent to the client specific needs. Okay, so we are on the design boards working. The product team is fully working on, and we have already a slew of these offerings that have come out specifically for the COVID phase. um, and and then enabling client facing teams, okay, to have at their disposal collaboration tools, cybersecurity, business continuity tools, so that, and also providing them with the logistic support. Going forward, we see then the recovery or the rebound phase, scenario for multiple projected outcomes that are going to come in. We need to outline post-COVID operations, balancing the existing risk, and obviously having extended new serving lines to accelerate growth once the impact of this virus starts to subside. Okay, and which may, as I said earlier, could lead to M&A or inorganic acquisition also. And another dimension which I like to touch upon in this new scenario, that's a learning. In fact, I fully resonate with what Hitesh said, is a dimension of risk that has come in this new era. So we need to be cognizant of the fact that the impact on our business due to possible disruption on the entire ecosystem. Okay, and for that, I think the health scan is one tool that Hitesh talked about, and it's in large measure to be adopted by the businesses. The other one which I want to talk about again, which Hitesh talked about, and we are definitely looking at it, is the revenue confidence part of it. Okay, so we were there that intent and fit was already there. So if we add risk to it, okay, how can we identify accounts that have the highest likelihood of facing financial strain and potentially going out of business? Okay, I think that is one we need to be cognizant about, and that is the one which can and drive profitability way forward. Thank you, Rana.
Rajat, slightly different question for you. You guys are an Indian company, working with clients across the world. What did you see in terms of responding time for an Indian company in a crisis like this, vis-a-vis, a trend which is in the outside world, because the whole world is faced with COVID. But do you see a change in the way, the clients have responded in different parts of the world? Rajat, can you hear us? We'll come back to you,
Yeah.
Rajat. You
Yeah,
can.
Nina. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, of course.
Hello. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes, we can.
So
Have you heard my question?
being yeah, I got it. So being a cloud-based SaaS solution, it was pretty easy for us to scale up and cater to our customers. Yes, the kind of pandemic, it came out as a surprise to everybody, and a lot of our customers as well as prospects, they also suddenly found a dynamic shift in IT as an infrastructure, IT as a facilitator to their business, which was impacted indirectly for BCP and all that. But now, having said that, the solution what we were providing helped them to scale up and move on a short term quickly to ramp up their critical businesses, keeping in the business continuity globally. To give an example, we scaled up one customer from 500, 700 users to 30,000 users within 2 weeks time on a global platform. Similarly, quite a few of the Hitesh was saying the impact for different industry was different. Within the industry also, some of the customer will adapt and change and quickly maneuver themselves to accept, whereas some customers may not be ready. Like we spoke about garment manufacturing company moving to building PPE kits and masks, that also added up a new business opportunity and new avenues for them. Similar kind of scenarios happened where our solution was helping them to scale up their operation and keep them on the business. So how we look at it is that as a short-term and long-term impact. On a short term, yes, the customers what we onboarded now could be a short-term goal for them, but going ahead, how they are looking at how their business plans are going to change. Obviously, that is going to impact the revenues on the our products or services also. That is where the biggest thing comes, how close and how customer focused you are. As Prasenjit rightly said, a lot of paradigm shift will happen where you need to be aligned with your customer and their business demands and their business plans to be relevant in the business, which would add to your profitability and growth.
Sure, thanks, Rajat. My next question has two parts. One is for Hitesh and one is for Prasenjit. This is with reference to, because both of you referred to the relationship between a CRO and a CMO. So to Hitesh, I wanted to understand that how data and data silos can help a CRO and a CMO to take a decision jointly in terms of the go-to-market. And and with continuation to that, I would like to know from as a CMO from Prasenjit, that how you are collaborating with your CRO and looking at your market acquisition and what kind of new customer acquisition that you would be working on.
So yeah, thanks, Nana. So I think so when it comes to any data silos, primarily one of the key factors for a data silo getting created is that overall, when it comes to an organization, the objectives are not aligned. So what is happening is that and I'll take a simple example. I'm a production guy and I'm measured to produce the maximum quantity. So that's what I do. And I'm a sales guy and I'm measured with maximum what I sell. So I will actually bias myself towards selling the high value. And what happens is therefore that the data which comes into an organization comes with a different context. So I think the first thing for in the current environment, the bridges between the CMO's office and the CRO office have to be stronger, which means that what it means to include risk as part of the assessment of my pipeline has to be commonly understood. There has to be a common definition. Generally as risk people and finance people, we tend to err on the side of accuracy, but in these uncertain times, there is no perfect data which is available, and we need to look at with the degree of uncertainty, what is the information which can be made available, and then basis that what intelligent decisions we can make. So right questions to ask, interpreting data in a manner where an common aligned objective is the measurable outcome, and then actually setting up a common council where decision making is being done jointly rather than independently as a sequential workflow. So that is what I would say would help.
Yeah, over to you, Prasenjit. Your experience on working on this.
Yeah, Nana. So Nana, if you look at the typical traditional funnel, okay, which is starting from awareness, interest, and goes down to purchase and collection. So there are three different functions that play its part: marketing, sales, and collections. Okay. Now sales pipelines will have full of uncertainty in the storage times. Collections will have a pressure on their collections with increased delinquency rates, forcing organizations to offer payment flexibilities, impacting the cash flow. Okay. And marketing need to be cognizant of that fact because it's a part of the entire funnel that needs to step in right now. Also, the key thing is to take into cognizance that when we are targeting accounts, okay, based on risk, okay, what is the impact it has on the acquisition cost, okay, and that is where clear bonding with CRO and CMO needs to come in, okay. I've talked about the revenue confidence, I've talked about the risk. So if I go back to my GTM or if I go back to my campaigns, the things I need to work around is finding out the region, okay, which may be under sort of a lot of restrictions and relaxations are very far away, okay, where there are a lot of government restrictions on the commerce and movement, okay. So we need to be cognizant of which are the territories, which are the areas I'm going to go, which are my prospects if I'm going for a acquisition mode, where are they based, okay. Should I do a campaign in this markets where they're still really under the impact of this pandemic? All this has to be in cognizant with the CRO, has to be in terms of the CROs and the data that is presented to me, also be in terms of the pipeline with the sales and also with the collections. And then we divide a strategy that this is my green zone where I need to operate. This is my area where we need to thrive right now for the current context and review it dynamically because all these conditions are changing over time.
So
That's
thank
it,
you.
Naina.
We are short of time and there's quite a few questions which we see has come from audiences. So I will take up, few of the questions from there. So there's a question, I think Prasenjit, Rajat, both of you can take it up actually. In today's digital world, when everyone is online and gets 100 plus mails, how do you get the attention for a new product? Customer mass mailing doesn't work. So what does it work? And that would be, good for me also to know as a marketer.
Rajat, go ahead. You missed the one question from Naina.
Yeah. So, Naina, as I covered in my presentation, basically the customer focus or customer success, what it defines is what the question previously you asked. It engages both sides, the customer side as well as your internal organization, all the stakeholders. And a lot of personalization needs to be done for all kind of communication. So if you are sending a very, very broad, open-ended mail, that may not be appreciated or received well. But if you are addressing a particular industry basic challenge, what they're facing in their these kind of times and how it is impacting their business continuity and how you are solving that, if that kind of a message goes, that resonates well with those kind of customers. So it becomes inevitable that when you are doing digital marketing in this kind of a time, which has been probably bombarded by so many of digital invites, webinars, emails, case studies, and everything, if your communication doesn't resonate well with the customer, it will not be accepted. Hence, you need to be very, very close to those customers, industry segments, and understand that particular space. And basis that you customize your communication and send it to that specific segment again. Then it will be more successful than a standard run-of-the-mill kind of a marketing. And a drip mail marketing with specific messages helps well. And that has given us a lot of success in this period of time.
Agree with
customization is what you're saying is the most important factor here, right? So this question,
customization and personalization.
Personalization and customization.
I just want to add also another key point.
Yes, Rajat, go ahead.
Yeah, Prasenjit, go ahead.
No, Rajat, go ahead. I'll add on to your
So when I was saying personalization also plays a major role, because if it is addressed to me as an individual and it addresses the pain points what I'm going through, I'm more likely to read it. If it comes as a broad pain customized mail, I may not be. So it is hence important that in the organization you need to know all the stakeholders and address them by person, and your mail should be going as a personalized mail rather than a broad mass-based mail.
Yeah, I agree with you. I fully resonate with what Rajat said. So it is the age of omni-channel personalization. Use automation tools, but don't lose your focus from personalization. In fact, it drives results. So be it in your improved lead generation, to improved opportunity creation, to improved MQL conversion rates, to faster over time. So there's a study that has proven empirically, there's a sizable difference that personalization brings to the table if you keep on hopping on this particular messaging to select few customers and you get into his particular mode of his needs, etc., and try to address it. Thanks, Nana.
Right, right. Sujit. This question which you just answered was, asked by Tarun, this Tarun Singh from Brady Crop. A slightly different question from marketing, but I think Hitesh, you would be able to answer this. This is from Manish Sansare from Henke Adhesive. So he's asking, how will labor-intensive organization and operations work differently post-COVID? Will this trigger rescaling of blue collars and move into automation, especially in manufacturing section?
So I think, the path towards automation was already happening. It was gradual, it was, incremental, it was very, very selective in certain areas. And what will happen now is it has to become exponential, and largely, if that is happening, it impacts and helps us in two manners, right? My productivity goes up. At the same time, from an employment perspective, yes, the reskilling of the blue collar workers will have to be done. And more or less, we would see a shift, right? So if you look at the US economy today, a large part of the temp workers, that generation, which is actually working on a project-based environment, have specialized skills, and is contributing to both the MSMEs as well as the large corporations, you will see a large part of that also happening in the Indian economy. So just to simply answer, yes, automation is the way forward. We need to selectively understand, what benefits, and will improve my productivity. Corresponding with that, we need to actually reskill our workers, and this has to be overall aligned with our digitization of our go-to-market strategy and plan. And the traditional sectors like auto components, textile, everyone. So for example, the weaver who's actually standing isolated, who was relying on the physical mode to sell their product, has to get online today, and has to have a fulfillment agency which is actually taking care of the logistics. So all of that has to happen. The enablement could be, say, a fintech company. It need not be me investing in everything. It has to be collaborative. It has to be something which has to be thought through in that manner.
Thanks, Hitesh. Prasenjit, next question for you. So, how do you see the customer behavior or clients' behavior changing post-COVID or during COVID? So, what is the transition that you're seeing? I'm not sure who asked this question because the gentleman or the lady has not mentioned their name, but this is the question. Interesting question.
What we have seen from this from the customer base specifically where we operate, we have seen specifically during this COVID phase, they're asking for help for business continuity. Okay, and that is uppermost in their minds. They're asking for, if they were in a traditional IT infra, okay, they want to move to the cloud. They're asking for a lot of cloud services. Okay, so we have seen their behavior, their needs are all pertaining to cope up with this particular pandemic. Okay, the disaster recovery, how do I take care of it? If I don't have it physical, can I move on DR on cloud? Okay, the VDI part of it. Okay, so we have seen a lot of this coming. In fact, if I were to tabulate in the last 3 months, I can call out 4 of them. Okay, one was the bandwidth usage, second was the cloud usage, third is the cloud security and the VPN solutions, and the fourth is disaster recovery. And there has been at least 20 to 25% uptake in this business volumes compared to pre-COVID in this time frame. So customers are very, very, very particular about the current scenario. They are grappling with it. They want to have a business continuity. They want to have a business normalcy coming in. And in my slides, I also spoken about how we are offering them in terms of a work from home toolkit, in terms of providing them security on their key applications. So what are we providing them to ensure that they have their feet on the ground? They're trying to cope up with it and then try to restore the business normalcy. We've seen this demand coming in utmost to us, and we have provided them with all those capabilities. We have also provided them a new service lines that we have seen are some of the white spaces that were there. So our product team at the back end has worked towards that. And this the whole thing is, if you look at it, Naina, is a traffic, okay, is the increase in traffic going to the cloud. So if you're looking at, and especially I'm talking about internet-centric companies, I'm talking about collaboration companies, I'm talking about OTT companies. The traffic zoom has really 25% increase in traffic compared to pre-COVID days. And thankfully, we have additional capacities, burstable bandwidths. So we didn't face any impact. You know, we just opened up the pipes and gave customers more performance. Okay. So these were some of the behavior pattern that we saw in the last 3-4 months, the sectors that we saw, and most of the demands were coming in there, helping them to move from a physical infra to a cloud mode. Okay, helping them to have the enterprise applications on the cloud, helping them on the DR part of it. So these were some of the things that we came across in terms of their needs and in terms of their demands.
Thank you.
Thanks, Naina.
Thank you, Prasenjit. Thank you to all the speaker and all the audience. Due to the paucity of time, we would not be able to take up any more questions. But in case you want to reach out to Dun & Bradstreet or any one of our speaker, please feel free to write to us at india@dnb.com. I again repeat, india@dnb.com. And we will get back to you. We will also share the entire recording of the presentations with you, and our email will be sent to you shortly. Thank you very much, and I hope you enjoyed the webinar the way we enjoyed in putting it together. Thanks once again. Bye-bye. Have a good day.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Naina.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Naina. Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone. Bye. Have a good day. Bye.